For many of you listening, that old 9 to 5, same office, same desk, well, it might feel like a lifetime ago. We're seeing this huge wave, right? Remote work, people living and working all over the globe. But with that freedom comes a pretty big question. How do you handle things like health insurance? The stuff that used to be tied to one employer, one country. It's something a lot of you are probably figuring out right now.
It really is a massive shift, isn't it? The old systems, the benefit structures, they just weren't built for people constantly on the move.
Yeah.
And this new reality, well, it's exposed some serious gaps.
Yeah.
Especially when it comes down to basic security, like healthcare, for you or your family.
And that's exactly why we're doing this deep dive today. We're looking at a company called Insured Nomads. They're specifically trying to build solutions for this modern borderless way of living and working. We've pulled together info from different places, their company profile, some news articles, and also the profile over in Unicorns Club. So we should get a pretty good picture. The idea today is to really understand how Insured Nomads is trying to shake things up in insurance, how they're supporting these global citizens, as they put it.
So let's start with the problem itself. What's the gap they're actually aiming to fill for people?
Yeah.
One article we saw mentioned something pretty staggering, that maybe half the global workforce lacks traditional health benefits.
Half. Wow.
Yeah. And then you think about, all the small businesses, the startups launching every single day. It points to this huge growing group of independent workers.
Right. The freelancers, the entrepreneurs, people on remote teams.
Yeah.
They're a massive part of the economy now.
Exactly. And they often just don't fit into those old employer plan boxes. So there's a real genuine need for insurance that's, as flexible as they are.
Okay, so what's Insured Nomads actually doing about it? What's their core solution to bridge that gap?
Well, at its heart, they're offering packages, health, travel, and these broader global benefits. They design these for individuals, families, but also for companies with teams spread all over the place. The key thing seems to be flexibility, coverage that moves with you. So whether you're, relocating for a year or just traveling for a bit, you've got that peace of mind.
And it's not just like a basic policy.
No, it seems to go further. They're aiming for comprehensive security for people who are constantly moving.
And I read about this NOMA platform they have. It sounds like it's more than just the insurance itself, like a safety net.
Yeah, the NOMA platform is pretty interesting. It pulls together a bunch of different services that someone living or working globally might really need.
Like what kind of things?
Well, think about it. Mental well-being is huge when you're navigating different places, right? So they include mental health tools, cybersecurity protection, vital if you're working online from anywhere.
Makes sense.
Telemedicine, so you can talk to a doctor remotely wherever you happen to be. They even have stuff like global community connections.
Oh, interesting. Like connecting nomads.
Sort of, yeah. Which can be really important when you're far from your usual support network. And, crucially, emergency evacuation services.
Okay, so it's quite holistic.
Exactly. It's not just bundling services randomly. It's recognizing that for someone working globally, things like mental health, cybersecurity, physical health, they're all interconnected and, maybe even amplified by that lifestyle. It feels quite different from traditional insurance, which often keeps those things separate.
Now, something else that caught my eye was their partnership. They've teamed up with alliance partners. That sounds pretty significant, right? What does that mean for Insured Nomads and maybe for someone considering using them?
Oh, it's incredibly significant. Partnering with a giant like Alliance gives them what the industry calls significant underwriting capacity. Basically, the financial muscle and risk expertise to cover more people and handle potentially larger claims. It adds a lot of stability and credibility.
Right. So it's not just a startup with a good idea. They have serious backing.
Precisely. And it also gives Insured Nomads guidance, infrastructure.
Yeah.
It's a massive accelerator for their growth plans, especially when they're targeting companies with global teams.
And I guess Alliance gets something out of it, too. Access to new markets, maybe?
Exactly. The article suggests Alliance sees it as a strategic way to reach these new demographics and markets, the globally mobile workforce, freelancers, people they might not traditionally reach easily.
It's a win-win.
Seems like it. And apparently this collaboration is already leading to new products. One Alliance director mentioned an exciting range of products, specifically things like better mental health and assistance packages, all integrated with that NOMA tech platform.
Okay, interesting. Now let's zoom in a bit on the independent workers. Freelancers, entrepreneurs, small businesses. A lot of our listeners probably fit that description. Insured Nomads seems to have a specific play there with Doer Circle.
Yes, absolutely. This looks like a really targeted move. They launched a global health insurance platform specifically for that group.
And how's it different? What makes it good for, say, a freelancer?
Well, they seem to have tackled some common headaches, like a simplified onboarding process, less paperwork, hopefully.
Always good.
Definitely. Flexible global coverage. And they mentioned a starting price point annually, around $74 a month, which sounds pretty accessible.
Yeah, relatively speaking for global health.
Right. And the benefit seems solid outpatient, dental, even maternity. Crucially, there's no minimum company size. So a solo entrepreneur isn't locked out.
Ah, that's key.
And again, the coverage moves with you. That seems to be the recurring theme.
That really does hit the nail on the head for someone not tied to a big company. Andrew Jernigan, the CEO, actually said, this lets small businesses get the same quality of health coverage as large corporations. That feels like a big deal for leveling the playing field.
It is. And the Doer Circle CEO, Hilla Priest, pointed out, how traditional insurance just hasn't really kept up with how people work now. This partnership looks like a direct answer to that, trying to make that enterprise-level coverage actually reachable for independents.
It goes beyond just cost, doesn't it? It's about removing barriers.
Totally. It could have a real positive knock-on effect for the whole freelance economy, potentially.
Okay, so we see what they offer and who they're for. But how does the business actually, work? How do they make money?
Well, according to their Unicorns Club profile, it's primarily through premiums. People paying for the health and travel insurance plans.
Standard enough.
Yeah, the health insurance gives them that steady, recurring monthly income. Travel insurance is more per trip, but they know that people who have a good experience tend to come back. So it's a mix.
Okay. And how do they find these customers? Are they going direct? Using brokers?
It looks like both. Their go-to-market strategy involves selling directly to businesses, especially those with distributed teams, but they also work through insurance brokers in different countries.
Spreading the net wide.
Seems that way.
Huh.
And it must be working because their customer base is incredibly spread out geographically. We're talking North America, Asia, all over Europe, Africa, Middle East, Latin America, Oceania, pretty much everywhere.
Wow, truly global then.
Yeah, it really underlines that they're serious about serving this internationally mobile group.
And that Unicorns Club profile mentioned they have proven product market fit and customer payment willingness, plus initial sales and structured sales efforts. That sounds like they're past the just an idea stage.
It definitely suggests they found a real need, people are willing to pay for their solution, and they're actively building their sales momentum. Things are moving.
Right. So looking ahead then, what are their plans? I saw they're in a funding round currently. What's that about?
Yes, they are. They're raising funds now, aiming to close around February 2025, and they've got clear ideas about how they want to use that money.
Okay.
About 40% is planned for infrastructure and technology. Makes sense, given how central that NOMA platform is. Another 30% for business development, building more partnerships, 20% for marketing and sales to reach more people, and the last 10% for product development.
So continuing to innovate.
Yeah, it suggests they're committed to refining and expanding what they offer.
And any hints on what that product development might involve?
They mentioned a few things on their roadmap. Deeper integration with wellness services, which fits their holistic approach. Exploring things like smart contracts, potentially for faster or maybe more transparent claims.
Ooh, interesting. Blockchain in insurance?
Potentially, yeah.
Yeah.
And also embedding their insurance solutions directly into other platforms that freelancers and remote workers already use.
Like integrating into a freelance marketplace or something.
Exactly. Making it seamless. It shows they're really thinking about the future of this workforce and how to best serve them.
Okay, so wrapping things up, it really feels like Insured Nomads is on a mission, doesn't it? Making safety, healthcare accessible, no matter where you are in the world.
Absolutely.
They're definitely trying to reshape insurance for this new era of remote work and global living that affects so many people now.
Yeah, they're tackling a big growing need with a pretty smart mix of actual insurance know-how and tech innovation. And as we saw in their Unicorns Club profile, they're actively using platforms like that one to get their vision out there, connect with investors, and really scale up. Unicorns Club, from what their profile shows, helps startups like Insured Nomads get seen by the right people, keep investors updated in real time, and get strategic support. You can check out how they do that at www.unicorns.club.
That's a great point about how these companies are finding ways to grow and get noticed. And it leaves you with a thought, doesn't it? As these lines keep blurring between, a normal job and working independently, traveling, living globally. How are your own needs for protection changing? How do you make sure you're covered? Something to mull over, for sure, whether you're navigating it yourself or managing a team that is.
Step up your game, join the unicorns club, making it rain, nothing ever enough.